Hey everyone, welcome back to Stoic Advisor, the place where ancient wisdom meets modern relationships. Today, we're diving into a powerful and often overlooked topic: 5 things women love, but only 2% of men do. But this isn't just another list video. We're going to explore each point through the lens of Stoicism, a timeless philosophy that can unlock deeper understanding, emotional strength, and authentic connection. So if you're serious about becoming a better man, not just in your romantic life, but in your mindset, you're in the right place. Before we get into the list, there's something crucial to acknowledge. Relationships don't just survive on attraction or convenience. They thrive on understanding, depth, and genuine connection. That's what we're here to uncover today. Let's begin with the first thing most women crave, and only a small percentage of men truly understand. Emotional intimacy. Emotional intimacy is at the core of any fulfilling romantic relationship. And for women, it's often one of the most deeply valued aspects. It's not about grand gestures or surface-level compliments. It's about something quieter, something deeper, the unshakable bond formed through trust, vulnerability, and honest communication. When a woman feels emotionally connected to her partner, it's like finding a safe harbor in a chaotic world. It means she can speak her truth without fear, share her emotions without being judged, and know that someone is truly listening, not just hearing, but understanding. This kind of connection builds a powerful emotional foundation. It creates a space where both partners can be fully seen, not just in moments of strength, but also in their struggles and uncertainties. And in that space, something extraordinary happens. Real love begins to grow. But here's the challenge: most men struggle to go there. And it's not because they're incapable, but because many have been conditioned from a young age to hide their feelings. Society often teaches men that to be vulnerable is to be weak, that showing emotion makes you less of a man, that silence is strength. So, what happens? Many men end up shutting down. They avoid deep conversations. They change the subject when things get too real. They put up emotional walls, not realizing that they're pushing away the very intimacy their partner longs for. And when that emotional door remains closed for too long, the woman on the other side starts to feel alone, even if she's lying right next to him. That loneliness breeds frustration, distance, and eventually disconnection. And what could have been a beautiful bond slowly begins to crack. But here's where Stoicism enters the picture and changes everything. Contrary to popular belief, Stoicism doesn't mean being cold or emotionally detached. It doesn't mean bottling things up or acting like nothing bothers you. True Stoicism is about understanding your emotions, not ignoring them. It teaches you to observe your inner world with clarity and to express your feelings with strength and intention, not impulsiveness. A Stoic man doesn't run from vulnerability. He embraces it with composure and courage. He knows that sharing his thoughts and feelings doesn't make him weaker. It makes him real. Imagine a man who can say, "I'm feeling overwhelmed right now," without shame, or one who can ask, "How are you really feeling?" and mean it. That kind of presence is magnetic. It creates safety. It earns trust. And that's exactly what emotional intimacy is all about. So if you've been holding back, thinking that your silence is strength, maybe it's time to rethink what strength really means. Maybe real strength is being honest, being open, being someone she can lean on emotionally, not just physically. Because in the end, emotional intimacy isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you're alive, aware, and fully human. For men, emotional intimacy should not be seen as a threat to their masculinity, but rather as a gateway to deeper connection and trust. It's not about losing strength. In fact, when done right, it reveals true emotional courage, the kind that brings partners closer on a level most never reach. But like any form of growth, it requires effort. Practicing emotional intimacy demands active participation from both partners. For men, this often means stepping beyond their emotional comfort zones, a place where silence, surface-level answers, or avoidance usually reign. It doesn't have to start with heavy, heart-wrenching confessions. Sometimes, the smallest steps lead to the deepest change. A man can begin by simply sharing how his day went, not just the facts, but how it made him feel. He can talk about his thoughts on a recent life challenge or open up about a childhood memory that shaped him. These seemingly ordinary moments carry extraordinary power. Why? Because vulnerability inspires vulnerability. When a man opens up, he creates emotional permission for his partner to do the same. That's how emotional intimacy deepens, through a natural back and forth of trust, honesty, and heartfelt sharing. And there's another pillar that holds up emotional intimacy: listening. Not just passive listening, but compassionate, intentional, present listening. It means being fully there, not glancing at your phone, not thinking about what you'll say next, but actually hearing the words and feeling the emotions behind them. It's about validating your partner's experience, even if you don't completely understand it. It's saying, through your presence, what you feel matters to me. This kind of listening builds something rare: safety. And safety is the soil where trust grows. But trust isn't built overnight. It's built through consistency and reliability, the quiet daily actions that show a man is emotionally available and dependable. Keeping promises, showing up when it matters, saying the hard things kindly, and above all, maintaining open and honest communication. When a woman sees her partner consistently engaging emotionally, it sends a message louder than words: you are not alone in this. I'm with you. That's when she relaxes. That's when her guard comes down. That's when love deepens. So what's the takeaway here? Emotional intimacy isn't just a bonus, it's a foundation, one that many women yearn for, but often go without. And yes, it can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're not used to being emotionally open. But by understanding its power and leaning into it with intention, men can create relationships that are not just functional, but deeply fulfilling. From a Stoic point of view, this doesn't mean letting emotions run wild. It means embracing them with reason, with awareness, and with strength. A Stoic man doesn't let emotions control him, but he also doesn't run from them. He uses them as tools for deeper connection, and in doing so, creates a relationship where both partners feel safe, supported, and fully seen. As this emotional bond deepens, it sets the stage for something even more profound: a relationship rooted not just in passion, but in empathy, loyalty, and love. Too. Commitment. No. Let's move into the second thing women deeply desire, yet many men underestimate: commitment. Commitment is more than just exclusivity. It's more than changing your relationship status or giving yourself a label. True commitment is about showing up, day in, day out, with intention, loyalty, and effort. It's about investing in the future, not just hoping things work out, but actively choosing to build something that lasts. For many women, commitment is the clearest signal that their partner is emotionally stable, trustworthy, and invested. It tells her you're not just an option, you're a priority. In a committed relationship, she feels safe knowing that her partner isn't going to disappear when things get hard, that he won't run the first time there's a disagreement, that he's in it for the long haul, not just for the good times. Sadly, commitment is where many men falter, and not always because they're unwilling. Sometimes it's because they fear losing freedom, or because they associate commitment with control or limitation. In other cases, they simply haven't seen healthy models of committed love, so they don't know what it really looks like. But here's the truth: commitment isn't the end of freedom, it's the beginning of purpose. When a man commits with intention, he no longer wastes energy chasing temporary highs or meaningless distractions. He channels that energy into building something real, something that actually matters. And that's the kind of devotion women respect. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present, loyal, and consistent. For many men, the very idea of commitment can feel intimidating, even suffocating. They may fear it means the end of their independence, or they might hesitate at the thought of making a long-term promise they're not sure they can keep. The pressure to be ready for all the responsibilities that come with commitment can feel overwhelming, especially in a culture that often celebrates short-term flings over long-term devotion. Today's world glorifies casual dating, situationships, and the thrill of keeping options open. In that environment, the traditional concept of commitment can feel old-fashioned, almost like a trap, rather than a choice. But to many women, commitment is not outdated. It's essential. Why? Because commitment is reassurance. It tells her, I choose you, not just for now, but for what's to come. It sends a powerful, unspoken message. You're not temporary, you're worth building with. When a man shows genuine commitment, it unlocks something fundamental in his partner, a feeling of safety. That emotional security becomes the foundation for deeper love, stronger trust, and a bond that can weather any storm. And this is where Stoicism offers a refreshingly strong perspective. To a Stoic, commitment isn't just about feelings, it's about values. It's about aligning one's actions with one's core principles. When a man commits, he's not merely saying the words, he's living his integrity. He's making a conscious, disciplined decision to invest in someone he cares about and to show up consistently. In this light, commitment becomes more than a romantic gesture. It becomes a reflection of character. Think about that for a moment. What if commitment wasn't something to fear, but something to take pride in? What if, instead of seeing it as a burden, we viewed it as a declaration of who we are and what we stand for? Stoicism also teaches us to focus on what we can control and accept what we cannot. In relationships, that means we can't predict exactly how things will unfold. We can't guarantee the future, but we can control our actions, our honesty, and our dedication. A truly committed man understands that no relationship is without struggle. There will be disagreements. There will be difficult seasons. But instead of running from them, he sees those challenges as opportunities for growth. He walks through the fire with his partner, knowing that adversity isn't something to avoid. It's something that forges deeper connection. Now here's something often misunderstood. Commitment is not just about presence. Being in the same room, sharing a bed, or splitting bills doesn't mean you're committed. Real commitment is active. It's about regularly engaging in the relationship, not just coexisting. It means asking questions like, how are you really feeling lately? Where do you see us going? What can I do to make you feel more supported? It's about talking, really talking, about future plans, shared values, and emotional needs. It's about being willing to have the uncomfortable conversations, and doing so with openness and clarity. Stoicism calls us to honest speech, and in relationships, that honesty becomes an act of love. When both partners clearly express what they want, where they stand, and how they feel, that's when misunderstandings vanish and mutual understanding grows. For a woman, seeing that her partner is genuinely committed, emotionally, mentally, and intentionally, brings a profound sense of security and peace. It's the kind of stability that allows her to relax, to open her heart, and to trust the connection fully. And for a man, embracing commitment can be life-changing. It can shift his mindset from scattered desire to focused devotion. It can deepen his emotional intelligence. It can give his relationship and his life a sense of direction and purpose that no casual connection ever could. In the end, commitment isn't just a milestone you reach and check off. It's a dynamic process, an ongoing decision to show up, grow together, and face life side by side. It's about choosing your partner again and again, even when it's hard. And when a man makes that choice not out of pressure, but out of character, that's when commitment becomes not just something women love, but something men learn to honor. Commitment, as we've explored, isn't a single action. It's a continual process, one that demands effort, ongoing communication, and above all, a deep alignment with one's personal values. And when a man embraces commitment not as a restriction, but as a reflection of his character, everything begins to change. Through the lens of Stoicism, commitment becomes a strength, a disciplined choice to invest deeply and deliberately. When men live by their principles and make loyalty a conscious value, they build not only more meaningful partnerships, but a stronger sense of self. Now, let's turn to the third quality, one that might seem subtle, but carries tremendous weight in any relationship. 3. Compassionate listening. Compassion listening, a phrase that sounds simple, but in practice is incredibly rare. In today's fast-paced, distraction-filled world, truly listening has become almost a lost art. But in romantic relationships, especially those involving emotionally intelligent women, this one skill can often be the difference between feeling loved or feeling alone. Compassionate listening is not just about hearing words. It's about tuning into the emotional frequency beneath those words. It's about pausing the noise in your own mind, the urge to fix, to judge, to reply, and simply being present. For many women, this kind of listening is more than helpful. It's foundational. It tells her, what you feel matters to me. I'm here not just in body, but in heart and mind. This form of listening builds emotional intimacy in a way that nothing else can. When a woman feels genuinely heard and understood, it creates trust. And from that trust grows vulnerability. And from that vulnerability grows real, lasting connection. But here's the truth. Many men struggle with this. And it's not because they're uncaring, but because they've been trained by society to value solutions over emotions. When a woman shares a concern, the knee-jerk reaction for many men is to fix it, offer advice, solve the problem. But what she's often looking for isn't a solution, it's a space where her feelings can simply exist without being minimized or redirected. Imagine the scenario. She comes home after a stressful day and says, "Work was so overwhelming today. My boss piled on 3 last-minute projects, and I feel like I can't breathe." The well-meaning, logical response might be, "Why don't you just tell your boss to set clearer expectations?" But to her, that might sound like, "You're overreacting. Your emotions don't matter." Instead, compassionate listening would sound like, "That sounds exhausting. I can hear how much that's weighing on you. Want to talk more about it?" See the difference? One approach tries to fix, the other validates. So, how can men become better, more compassionate listeners? It starts with presence. Put the phone away, mute the TV, turn toward her fully, both physically and emotionally. Look her in the eye, nod when she speaks, respond in ways that show you're not just hearing her words, you're absorbing her feelings. Second, approach the conversation with an open heart and a quiet ego. Set aside your assumptions or urge to jump in. Let go of trying to be right. This is not a debate. It's a moment to connect. Third, tune into the emotions behind the message. If she says she's frustrated at work, don't just focus on the logistics of her workload. Recognize the stress, the pressure, the emotional exhaustion behind it. That's where real empathy begins. Another powerful tool, reflective listening. This means repeating back what you've heard in your own words, not to parrot, but to demonstrate that you truly understand. For example, it sounds like you're overwhelmed and feel like you're constantly being pulled in every direction. Simple, powerful, human. When you do this, you're not just nodding politely, you're showing up emotionally. And that's what women crave, not perfection, not endless advice, just presence, empathy, and sincerity. Compassionate listening doesn't mean you never give advice. It just means you wait until it's wanted. Sometimes, after she's vented and felt validated, she'll ask, "What do you think I should do?" That's your cue. That's when your support can shift into guidance, and it will be welcomed, not resented. Practicing this kind of listening takes intentional effort, especially if you weren't raised in an environment where emotional conversations were common. But the reward is undeniable: deeper connection, fewer misunderstandings, and a relationship built on emotional safety, not silent resentment. And from a Stoic perspective, compassionate listening aligns perfectly with the core values of the philosophy. It requires self-discipline, humility, and a commitment to understanding others without letting our ego interfere. Marcus Aurelius himself wrote, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize?" That's the spirit of compassion, to listen, not to judge, to understand, not to fix. When it comes to compassionate listening, what you do matters just as much as what you say. And sometimes it's not even about words at all. Nonverbal communication, your body language, plays a critical role in showing your partner that you're not just hearing them, but truly listening. Simple actions like maintaining eye contact, offering a gentle nod, or leaning in slightly as they speak can convey powerful messages of care, interest, and respect. These small gestures say, "I'm here with you. I'm present. I care about what you're saying." Even silence, when used intentionally, becomes a valuable tool. After your partner finishes speaking, take a moment before responding. Let the silence hang, not awkwardly, but openly, giving her the chance to gather her thoughts and perhaps say even more than she initially planned. Sometimes, those quiet moments become the most revealing. Another way to deepen this emotional exchange is by asking open-ended questions, ones that invite introspection and emotional clarity. Questions like, how did that make you feel? What do you think that means for you? What was going through your mind when that happened? These aren't just prompts, they're invitations to be seen, heard, and understood on a deeper emotional level. They show that you're not trying to fix her, you're trying to understand her. When used consistently, these listening techniques do more than just improve communication. They create a safe emotional space, a space where both partners can open up freely, knowing they'll be met with compassion, not judgment. And when a woman feels heard, truly heard, she feels valued, she feels emotionally connected, she feels like she matters. That's the power of compassionate listening. It's not just a soft skill, it's a transformative force that strengthens emotional bonds and builds lasting trust. In the end, it's not about being the man with all the answers. It's about being the man who makes her feel safe enough to speak. And that brings us to the next point, one that builds on emotional connection through action, not just words. 4. Sharing responsibilities. Let's face it, modern relationships demand teamwork. Gone are the days when one partner worked while the other managed everything at home. In today's world, most couples juggle careers, personal goals, family commitments, and emotional needs together. So when one partner carries most of the weight, whether it's housework, planning, childcare, or emotional labor, resentment can quietly build. That's why sharing responsibilities isn't just about fairness. It's about respect. It's about saying, we're in this together. And for many women, this is not optional, it's essential. When a man actively contributes, whether it's cooking dinner, cleaning the kitchen, or handling the bedtime routine with the kids, it communicates more than just effort. It says, this relationship matters to me. I see your work. I respect your time, and I'm here to share the load. That sense of shared responsibility creates something powerful, emotional partnership. It transforms a couple from individuals living parallel lives into a united team, to people building a shared future together, brick by brick. And this doesn't mean everything has to be split perfectly 50-50. Life is messy, schedules change, priorities shift, but it does mean that both partners are invested in contributing, not just waiting for the other person to carry more. Unfortunately, despite the growing awareness around equality, many men still struggle with this idea. And again, the reason often lies in deep-rooted societal norms, beliefs passed down through generations that suggest men shouldn't be involved in domestic work, or that emotional and household responsibilities are somehow beneath them. But those outdated ideas no longer hold up in a modern, emotionally connected relationship. If anything, when a man takes initiative at home, when he does the dishes without being asked, folds the laundry, packs the kids' lunch, or helps manage the family schedule, he's not losing masculinity. He's demonstrating maturity. He's showing that he understands love isn't just about passion, it's about partnership. And this matters deeply to women, because when a man contributes meaningfully to the responsibilities of the relationship, it builds trust, respect, and gratitude. She doesn't just see him as a romantic partner, she sees him as someone she can build a life with. Stoicism also supports this mindset. At its core, Stoicism teaches us to take responsibility, act with virtue, and live in harmony with others. Sharing responsibility is a direct expression of those values. It's not about keeping score, it's about doing what's right, because it's right. And when men adopt this attitude, they often discover something unexpected: the joy of contribution, the pride in being reliable, the deep satisfaction that comes from being part of a team, not just a solo player. In short, when a man steps up and shares the load, he's not just being helpful, he's being heroic in the eyes of his partner. For far too long, outdated gender roles have silently dictated that domestic responsibilities fall primarily on women. These expectations, deeply ingrained in many cultures, often go unspoken, but their consequences are felt deeply when one Partner ends up bearing most of the household burden, cooking, cleaning, managing the emotional labor of the family. It creates an imbalance over time. That imbalance doesn't just cause stress, it creates frustration, resentment, and emotional distance. Women may begin to feel like their efforts are invisible, like their hard work is expected but rarely acknowledged. And when someone feels taken for granted, the relationship starts to erode from the inside out. This isn't about tallying chores or keeping score. It's about recognizing that a true partnership is built on shared effort and mutual respect. When one person constantly gives and the other simply receives, the connection weakens, slowly, silently, but inevitably. From a Stoic perspective, this isn't just a modern issue, it's a moral one. Stoicism teaches us to act in accordance with virtue, to live justly, fairly, and with purpose. In relationships, that means acknowledging our role not as passive participants, but as equal contributors. Every partner has a stake in the shared life being built, and every task, no matter how small, is an opportunity to act with character. When a man approaches shared responsibilities through this lens, he's not just doing chores, he's aligning his behavior with the Stoic values of justice, fairness, and integrity. He's living his principles, not just preaching them. And that kind of congruence builds trust, both in his partner's eyes and in his own sense of self. But of course, shared responsibility doesn't happen by accident. It requires clear, honest, and consistent communication. Couples who thrive don't leave things to assumption. They talk, they check in, they create systems that support mutual contribution. This can start with something simple, like making a list of household responsibilities and dividing them based on each person's preferences, strengths, and availability. For example, if one partner enjoys cooking and the other is better with managing finances, great, let each person lead in their area of strength. This approach avoids unnecessary friction and reinforces a sense of empowerment on both sides. But there's another essential ingredient: flexibility. Life doesn't always go as planned. Deadlines get tight, family emergencies arise, health dips, stress spikes. During those moments, sticking rigidly to a checklist can do more harm than good. That's why sharing responsibilities isn't just about equal division. It's about emotional generosity. It's about saying, "Hey, I know you've had a rough week. Let me take care of this for now." When one partner is overwhelmed, the other steps in, not reluctantly, but willingly, not because they were asked, but because they noticed. That's when a relationship becomes more than just a cohabitation. It becomes a support system, a true team. This kind of cooperation sends a powerful message: I'm paying attention. I've got your back. You don't have to do this alone. And it goes both ways. Another often overlooked, but incredibly powerful practice is acknowledgement. A simple thank you, a compliment on a meal cooked, laundry done, a messy room tidied. These may seem small, but they carry immense weight. Because acknowledgement isn't about flattery. It's about recognition. It's about saying, "I see you. I see your effort, and I appreciate it." And when both partners feel seen and valued, it changes the entire emotional climate of the relationship. Suddenly, the home becomes a place not of obligation, but of mutual care, not of unspoken expectations, but of open appreciation. In Stoic terms, this is the cultivation of eudaimonia, a flourishing life, not one without difficulty, but one where both individuals grow together, help each other, and act in accordance with their highest selves. So let's be clear, sharing responsibilities is not just about chores, it's about love in action. It's about building a partnership rooted in balance, empathy, and conscious effort. When a man embraces this principle, not as a duty, but as a form of devotion, he shows his partner that he's not just in the relationship, he's invested in it. When communication, flexibility, and genuine appreciation come together in a relationship, something powerful begins to unfold. Both partners feel empowered, seen, and respected, not just in theory, but in the day-to-day rhythm of life. This dynamic doesn't just make life easier, it makes life more fulfilling, more harmonious, and more connected. And now, we arrive at the final, yet deeply essential, component of a thriving romantic relationship. 5. Affectionate gestures. Let's talk about something many overlook, and yet something that holds immense power. Affectionate gestures. In any romantic relationship, especially for many women, these small, intentional acts of love carry weight far beyond what they might seem on the surface. To the untrained eye, they might appear trivial, just words or fleeting touches. But to someone who is emotionally in tune, these gestures communicate something profound. You matter. I see you. I love you. Affectionate gestures are more than romantic fluff. They're a language of emotional safety, a way of showing care without needing grand declarations. In fact, they often speak louder than dramatic gestures ever could. These acts can take many forms, from simple verbal affirmations to physical touch. Saying I love you, I appreciate you, or you mean the world to me isn't just being sweet. It's reinforcing your emotional bond. It's reminding your partner that they are cherished, not just for what they do, but for who they are. But verbal expressions, while powerful, are only one side of the coin. Physical affection, a warm hug, a gentle touch on the arm, holding hands during a walk, or a kiss on the forehead before bed, can sometimes say what words cannot. These physical gestures are grounding. They create presence. They send the message, I'm here with you, body, heart, and soul. What makes affectionate gestures so essential is their ability to cultivate a deep sense of security and belonging. When a woman receives consistent affection from her partner, it reassures her. It calms her doubts. It builds a space where vulnerability is welcomed, not judged. And in that space, the relationship is able to deepen and flourish. But when affection is absent, when the daily touches disappear, when kind words dry up, something subtle but dangerous can happen. Emotional distance begins to grow. A woman may begin to question her place in the relationship. She may feel unseen, uncared for, or emotionally disconnected. The tragedy: most men don't mean to cause this often. The struggle to express affection stems from deeply embedded societal beliefs that men should be stoic, unemotional, and restrained. Many grow up being told that vulnerability is weakness, that hugs are soft, that saying I love you too often makes you less of a man. But the truth couldn't be more different. Affection is strength. It takes courage to open your heart. It takes maturity to be consistent in expressing love. And it takes self-awareness to recognize how meaningful those small moments are to your partner. From a Stoic perspective, affectionate gestures are not emotional indulgences. They are acts of virtue. Stoicism teaches us to live with intention, to align our actions with our highest values, to care deeply for those we love, not just in our minds, but in how we show up each day. So when a man embraces affectionate gestures, he's not just being sweet, he's living his Stoic principles. He's expressing truth with clarity. He's embodying empathy and love, not as fleeting feelings, but as daily disciplines. And here's the best part: affectionate gestures don't need to be grand, expensive, or complicated. Sometimes it's as simple as leaving a handwritten note on the kitchen counter that says, I'm proud of you. Sending a message in the middle of the day, just thinking about you. Holding her close for a few seconds longer, not out of habit, but with presence. Bringing her a warm drink when she's overwhelmed, not because she asked, but because you noticed. These are the little things that become the big things. They create memories. They deepen trust. They lay the emotional foundation for a relationship that can endure challenges, setbacks, and the storms of life. In the end, it's not about being perfect. It's about being present. Not about saying the right thing all the time, but about showing again and again that your love is real, consistent, and felt. So to every man listening, affection doesn't make you weak. It makes you courageous. It doesn't soften your edge. It sharpens your character. Because the strongest men are not the ones who hide their feelings. They're the ones who have the strength to share them. It's often the smallest things that speak the loudest. A handwritten note left on the bathroom mirror. A favorite meal cooked after a long day. A thoughtful message sent during a busy afternoon, just to say, I'm thinking of you. These simple gestures, though easy to overlook, go a long way in showing love and appreciation. In the middle of chaotic schedules, constant notifications, and daily demands, these actions whisper the quiet but powerful truth. You matter to me. I see you. Even when life pulls us in different directions, these little moments foster a steady sense of emotional connection, a gentle thread that ties partners together, reminding them that love is alive in the everyday. But here's something crucial. Consistency is everything. Affection shouldn't just show up on Valentine's Day or anniversaries. It's not about orchestrating grand romantic surprises twice a year. It's about the daily effort, the consistent, intentional expressions of care that form the very fabric of a strong, lasting relationship. When partners make it a habit to check in with each other, share inside jokes, laugh together, or reach out for a spontaneous hug, it creates a safe and joyful space, one where both people feel seen, supported, and celebrated. It's in these everyday acts, the shared coffee in the morning, the text saying drive safe, the hand squeeze during a tough moment, where intimacy is quietly built, day after day, layer upon layer. But we must also remember, not everyone gives or receives affection the same way. This is where understanding your partner's love language becomes a true game changer. Is she someone who lights up when you say, "I'm proud of you"? That's words of affirmation. Does she feel most love when you clean the kitchen without being asked, or help with a task she dreads? That's acts of service. Maybe it's the little gifts or the time you set aside just to be together, no phone, no distractions. Or perhaps it's the way you hold her hand every time you walk down the street. Whether her love language is quality time, physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation, or gifts, knowing how she feels love and showing it in that way makes all the difference. Because it's not just about expressing affection. It's about expressing it in a way that lands deeply, that resonates, that makes her feel truly loved in her own unique emotional language. When you do that, when your gestures align with her needs, they don't just feel nice, they feel transformational. So, let's bring this home. In conclusion, affection gestures aren't optional extras. They are essential foundations in a healthy relationship. They nurture emotional intimacy. They soften rough edges. They bring joy into the routine and deepen connection during difficult times. By weaving in verbal affirmations, physical touch, shared moments, and thoughtful daily actions, we reinforce the truth. I choose you, not just once, but every single day. This isn't about weakness. This is about intentional strength, about showing up in ways that go beyond words, and choosing love in both grand and subtle ways. So there you have it. 5 things women love that only a small percentage of men truly embrace. And here's the challenge. Be part of that rare 2%. The men who are emotionally intelligent. The men who take the time to listen, to support, to be present, to commit, and to love with intention. It doesn't make you any less masculine. In fact, it makes you more powerful. Because true strength lies in connection. True masculinity is forged in character, courage, and care. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Stoic Drift, and share your thoughts below. What do you think holds men back from creating these deeper connections? Your voice matters, and as always, stay curious, stay grounded, and stay compassionate. We'll see you in the next one.